Upon the discovery of my infidelity with mine superior, a span of 8 years hath since elapsed. Enlist thyself to partake in a bounty of tales through the medium of moving images. 8 years past, mine existence did veer most abruptly into tumult and disorder. On that fateful eve my spouse, Tom, unearthed the clandestine liaison I had with my superior, David. It was no mere happenstance revelation. Tom's suspicions did grow with the passage of time. The hours spent in toil beneath the moon's gaze, the unforeseen journeys for trade, the growing chasm that hath seeped into our union, all these tribulations did conspire to weigh heavily upon my heart. Yet, naught could have steeled my heart for the visage he bore when he laid bare the verity before me. The entanglement was not a tale of enduring passion. It was a succession of ill-fated choices wrought in the tempest of our union. For 5 years I toiled within the company, and there stood David, a figure of charm and triumph, who appeared to grasp the depths of my domestic vexations in a manner that Tom had failed to perceive. What began as innocent discourse did swiftly transform into a matter of greater consequence. Though I recognized the folly of my choice, a certain exhilaration in the shadows beckoned me, leading me to believe the peril was but a trifling price to pay. Alas, I have erred. Upon the eve's descent, Tom didst uncover the missives. Clear and irrefutable proof of my treachery. I did not refute it. There was naught to be gained. The anguish upon his visage, the ire, the incredulity, it was a tempest too great to fathom in a single breath. He did depart from the dwelling forthwith, and for 2 days hence, he returned not. Verily, those days did stretch forth like an endless tale, each moment a weary eternity. Upon his return, he didst prepare a satchel and take his leave once more. This occasion for certain. In the initial months, all was but a haze, a fleeting shadow of time's passage. I did withdraw from my labors, for the sight of David was a burden too great to bear. The very notion of entering that chamber and feigning that all was as it should be was utterly unthinkable. Tom did swiftly seek the dissolution of our union, and I made no challenge to his intent. Our union lay in ruins, and the harm wrought was beyond repair. I hath departed from our dwelling and taken residence in a modest chamber across the way. In that realm, where my name was but a whisper lost in the winds of anonymity, I found solace for the first time in many moons, cherishing the sweet embrace of obscurity. The dissolution of their union was concluded 6 moons hence. Though we were without offspring, rendering the legal matters less convoluted, the emotional landscape was fraught with complexity beyond measure. Our kin had long been acquainted, and the repercussions reached far beyond the two of us. Comrades did align themselves with differing factions. Some did not align themselves with any faction and, like leaves upon the wind, did quietly depart. The weight of solitude bore down upon me, yet I recognized that I was the architect of my own despair. In due course, I returned to the realm of labor, albeit having relinquished my position at David's establishment. The murmurs within the chamber and the glances of my peers, laden with either scorn or sympathy, weighed heavily upon my spirit. In a modest establishment, I have secured a new position, where the shadows of my former days remain unrecognized by those around me. It was a new dawn, yet the shadows of shame and regret did linger, hidden just beneath the facade. In fervent toil, I sought to banish the shadows that lingered in my heart, yet the truth remained, an unyielding specter. All that I held dear had slipped through my fingers. In the ensuing years, I endeavored to mend the fragments of my existence. I ventured into the realm of counsel to unravel the motives behind my choices, pondering why I had jeopardized my union for pursuits so devoid of significance. It was not solely the dalliance that stirred the tempest, but rather the myriad of grievances that had festered long ere David graced the scene. In the quiet chambers of my mind, I found myself grappling with the truth that I had failed to convey the depths of my heart to Tom, and had not endeavored to join forces with him in mending the rifts that marred our union. Alas, I had chosen the path of least resistance, seeking remedies in realms most unfit. In the interim, it appeared that Tom had advanced, or so I discerned through the whispers of our shared acquaintances. After a span of a year post the dissolution of his union, He ventured once more into the realm of courtship, ultimately encountering a companion of earnest intent. Her name was Emily, and she bore no resemblance to my own self. She was a paragon of kindness, rooted in reality, and imbued with sincerity. It hath reached mine ears that they were content in each other's company, and a fragment of my heart rejoiced that he had discovered a companion who could bestow upon him the steadiness I could not provide. 3 years hence from the dissolution of our union, I chanced upon Tom at a gathering of merriment, a friend's nuptial celebration. It was the inaugural occasion upon which our eyes did meet since the fateful events had transpired. We did exchange courteous salutations, yet an unbridgeable chasm lay betwixt us, a barrier most formidable. I beheld the vestiges of sorrow reflected in his gaze, and a tide of remorse surged forth within me. In the depths of my soul, I pondered whether he might find it within his heart to grant me absolution, or if I could ever bestow such mercy upon my own weary spirit. As the sands of time did flow, I persevered in my quest for healing and endeavored to reconstruct the tapestry of my existence. I did partake in a gathering of souls who have traversed the treacherous waters of betrayal in their bonds, whether as the wronged or the wrongdoers themselves. It was most enlightening to hear tales from those who have traversed akin paths, and it bestowed upon me a profound comprehension of the consequences wrought by my deeds. It dawned upon me that the entanglement had not merely inflicted pain upon Tom, but had also cast its shadow upon my own heart. It had warped my perception of mine own self and my value, and I must needs face that truth. By the 5th year post-separation, I had at last arrived at a realm wherein I sensed a modicum of tranquility. With a heart full of ambition, I embarked upon a venture alongside a companion from my toil, a pursuit long cherished yet previously shrouded in trepidation. For the first time in an age, I sensed the stirring of purpose within my endeavors, as if I were crafting something of true significance once more. Though it could not serve as a substitute for the existence I once cherished, it marked the beginning of a fresh narrative, and that alone held value. In this season of life, whispers reached mine ears that Tom hath pledged himself to Emily in the bonds of engagement. Upon gazing upon the images shared in the realm of social discourse, a tempest of sentiments did stir within me. In the depths of my heart, a flicker of joy did stir for him, for he was worthy of all the affection and bliss that life could bestow. Yet, entwined with this joy, a shadow lingered, heavy with the sorrow of what might have been, a life that could have been my own, had I but possessed greater strength, honesty, and a spirit less consumed by self. 8 years have now elapsed since that ill-fated eve. Tom and Emily, united in the sacred bond of matrimony, have recently welcomed into their lives a precious offspring, their firstborn. Upon receiving the tidings, I dispatched a missive, extending my heartfelt congratulations and fervent wishes for their utmost prosperity. Well, I did not anticipate a reply, yet to mine astonishment, Tom did reach forth a few weeks hence. He expressed his gratitude for the card and inquired if I would be amenable to a meeting over coffee. He did declare that there were matters he wished to discourse upon, not in pursuit of reigniting any flame, but rather for the sake of finding resolution. Upon our meeting, it felt akin to the reunion of long-separated companions, yet there lingered an odd air of separation between us. We did converse upon the paths we have trodden, the destinations we have reached, and the transformations we have undergone. Tom did confide in me that though he bore the wounds of betrayal, he hath also come to the understanding that we both played our parts in the unraveling of our union. He bore his own lamentations, for not bestowing greater heed, for failing to perceive the omens that heralded distress, and for treating our bond with a careless heart. Though my deeds remained unjust, it brought solace to my heart to learn that he no longer cast me as the fiend in this tale. He did declare that he had granted me forgiveness, not for my own benefit, but rather to soothe his own troubled spirit. He proclaimed it took many a year to arrive at such a truth, yet he had come to understand that clinging to wrath served him not. He found himself in a realm anew, surrounded by kin of fresh bonds, yet to seize the promise of tomorrow, he must cast aside the shadows of yesteryear. We did take our leave, each with a shared wisdom that from this encounter we had both blossomed anew. There existed not a grand reunion, nor the revival of bygone passions. Rather, there existed a subtle recognition that we had intertwined our existences for a fleeting moment, and thus, that particular tale had drawn to a close. In this present day, I persist in the stewardship of my enterprise, which hath flourished beyond my wildest imaginings. Once more, I find myself venturing into the realm of courtship, yet with a discerning heart and a mindful spirit, I ponder deeply upon my desires and necessities in the bonds of affection. Verily, I have come to discern that genuine joy doth not reside in transient thrills or diversions, but rather in the serene and steadfast toil of crafting a life of which one can take pride. The entanglement was the most grievous error I ever committed, yet it imparted lessons of self-discovery beyond my wildest imaginings. In truth, I find myself transformed from the soul I once was, 8 years past, and for this change, my heart doth swell with gratitude. I have come to grasp the art of self-honesty, to confront my imperfections, and to endeavor towards a more noble incarnation of my being. The sands of time remain unaltered, and I shall forever bear the burden of mine own decisions. Yet as the seasons pass, that burden doth grow a shade lighter to endure. In the midst of my sorrowful parting from the bonds of matrimony, I have unearthed a treasure anew, mine own self, and at times, that be the most arduous and precious revelation of all. Gratitude for thine eyes upon this spectacle, beseech thee to subscribe, and lend thy thoughts in comment and favor.